All right, all right, all right. Great evening to everyone. It is day 6 of 28 days of self love. And if you've been hanging with me for the last 5 days, congratulations on doing something for yourself. So, on this month, for the month of February, we have been focusing on 28 days of self love. And normally I don't go live on my personal page. So, if you're viewing me on my personal page, welcome. Also, hello, ladies, in the Positioning for Increase Facebook group, as well as the Positioning for Increase YouTube channel. And you might be asking, well, why are we focusing on self love this month? And I would like to say, because sometimes we're not kind to ourselves. So we're going to focus on for the next few days all the days that's left in the month of February, we're going to be focusing on self love. Thanks for all of you who've been catching the replay and have been leaving comments. They have been read and I enjoy and I like them all. Thanks for the hearts and the thumbs up. Keep them coming. And we have also been giving the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and I'm going to do that on tonight as well. And that number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, the number for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is 1-800-273-8255. If you need help, reach out to someone. And if no one has told you on today, let me be the first to say that you are necessary, you are needed, and you are loved. Let's go ahead and jump straight into day 6. And day 6 is forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. This one is easier said than done. This one is a hard one. Self-forgiveness is important to our mental health. It's not easy, but if we practice it, it gets easier over time. And if you're tuning in currently, why don't you go ahead and send me a chat so I know that someone is here, someone is listening. Remember, we said a few days ago that we're going to ditch perfection. We said that we're going to ditch perfection, and we said that nobody's perfect. So if you are thinking that you're perfect or expecting yourself to be and holding yourself to that high standard, it's impossible. So I'll go ahead and let you know that nobody's imperfect. Nobody's perfect. We're all imperfect. In life, we've done some things that we're not happy about. And trust me, we'll probably continue to do some things. But when we do those things, that leads us to unforgiveness. And so we don't forgive ourselves. And if we don't exercise ways to forgive ourselves, we suffer in more ways than one. So if we don't forgive ourselves, it can affect us mentally, it can affect us physically, it can affect our health, and it can affect us emotionally. So it makes it hard for us to go out through life loving ourselves. So forgiving yourself is an act of showing yourself love. And so that's why this falls into the category for our 28 days. And again, I'll say this one might be the hardest one that we will probably conquer on this month. So the act of forgiving yourself is significant for personal growth and self-improvement. Self-forgiveness, it helps you to improve your self-image as well. And I know I've said self several times. It reduces the risk of anxiety and depressive symptoms, and people are more likely to maintain positive productivity and reach their goals when they practice self-forgiveness. So we're spending the month of February focusing on self-love, and then after that we said that we were going to focus on our goals, because you're more likely to achieve your goals when you love yourself. So forgiving yourself requires understanding, it requires empathy, and it requires thoughtfulness. People may not realize that they have the ability to forgive themselves because it's not something that we practice on an ongoing basis. But we have to recognize that self-forgiveness is a choice. And if you hear me saying that, why don't you go ahead and drop in the chat, say self-forgiveness is a choice. So what is self-forgiveness? Forgiveness means you accept actions and behaviors that occurred while being willing to move forward. So accepting your actions and your behaviors while being willing to move forward. It doesn't mean that you agree with the offense or that you're okay with what you've done, but it does mean that you've made the choice to move forward. So forgiveness is a choice. Say that with me. Forgiveness is a choice. And self-forgiveness is a choice. So we must choose to operate in self-forgiveness and be able to be willing to move on from those things that have happened in the past. So forgiving yourself means that you're letting go of feelings and emotions that are associated with what went wrong, which is very beneficial because all the time we operate on how we feel. We operate on how we feel. And when you forgive yourself, you accept responsibility for what have happened. You acknowledge that your actions were unacceptable and you make a conscious decision to focus on making better decisions in the future. And the first step of forgiving yourself is recognizing that what happened, is by recognizing what happened and taking the responsibility. We must take responsibility of our actions. And you should accept your actions quickly, because if we don't, then we can, of course, find ourselves in a state of feeling very, very guilty, and have regret. And guilt over time, it turns into shame. And that, of course, is the opposite of what we're trying to focus on this month, which is self love. Yes, forgiveness is a choice. So, this is a great time to show compassion to yourself, leave the offense in the past, and move forward. Feeling guilt is considered to be healthy. And again, I will say it that it helps to look at your guilt as a starting point to change your behavior. But guilt unchecked turns into deep shame. Shame brings unwanted feelings that could lead us to depression and affects our esteem, our self-esteem. So why is forgiveness not easy? Like self-forgiveness is not easy. Forgiving yourself isn't easy because first we have to admit that we made a mistake. And we said a couple of days ago that we're ditching perfection. But again, a lot of times we hold ourselves to such a high standard that we're unable to meet that standard, which leaves us in a place of feeling shame, which causes us to be depressed and feeling all those things, which will, of course, not allow us to move forward. So dwelling on it may lead to self-hatred, which is what we should try to avoid at all costs. So how to practice self-forgiveness. I'm going to give you a few tips and then I'm going to hop on off. First thing, spend time understanding what forgiveness means. Again, forgiveness does not mean that you agree with what you've done, but you are deciding to choose to move forward. Be okay with not being perfect. We're not perfect. I can say that over and over and over again. And we will make mistakes. You can't grow if you're not willing to move forward meaningfully. Hold yourself accountable by being responsible. Hold yourself accountable by being responsible. Acknowledge your feelings and what you did. You can't learn from what happened unless you're honest about it. So be honest about the things that you've done. Acknowledge those feelings and be willing to move forward. Put aside any judgment and focus on the situation for what it is. We are always heavy on the judgment side, which, of course, we said a couple of days ago, we are our enemy. The enemy is inner me. Our enemy is our worst enemy could be inner me. And so a lot of times we judge ourselves more harshly than we do someone else. And we tend to not forgive ourselves as quickly as we will forgive someone else. But we have to practice self-forgiveness because that's a part of showing our self-love. You'll also want to admit the lesson that you learned from it, and how to improve moving forward. So if you haven't learned a lesson from this, then of course we'll find ourselves probably going through the same cycle over and over and over again. So learn something from it and move forward. So apologize to yourself, make changes, and be compassionate. Again, this is a tough one. Showing self-love is a tough one. So, showing self-forgiveness is tough, but it is significant to our emotional health, our physical health, our mental health. And if you need help going through the process, please reach out to a counselor or a therapist to help you move forward. And again, if no one has told you on today, let me be the first to say, I love you. You all have a great night, and I pray that your week will be a great one. Have a good one.